In the bustling city of Lagos, Cecilia had just been called to bar after attending law school. She had previously graduated from a well known university where she spent 5 years studying law. Her father, Mr. James, a civil servant, had dedicated his life savings to ensure that both Cecilia and her younger sister, Tiana, could pursue their educations. Although he wasn't wealthy, he had made a promise to himself that his children would reach heights he never could. While Cecilia had completed her studies, Tiana, his second daughter, was in her third year studying mass communication. Their mother had passed away after a long battle with cancer when the girls were still little, leaving Mr. James to take on the role of being both father and mother, doing everything in his power to provide for them. And now, Cecilia couldn't wait to start working to help ease his burden. She had worked hard throughout her years in the university and law school, graduating with top honors. Now, her goal was to secure a job at a big law firm. She was eager to begin her journey and support her aging father, just as he had always supported her. I can't wait for you to start sending me pocket money when you begin working, my sister, my sister. Tiana teased Cecilia with a smile as they strolled through the mall one Saturday morning, picking up groceries. Cecilia grinned. You better not disturb me too much, or else I will block your number. The two sisters continued their playful banter, walking through the mall and laughing loudly. Just as Cecilia took a step forward, the towel shifted under her foot. In that split second, her eyes widened in surprise. As she stumbled backward, she braced herself for a fall. But before she could hit the ground, strong arms caught her, pulling her back gently but firmly. Cecilia blinked in shock, her heart racing, grateful but embarrassed. She looked up, ready to thank the stranger who had saved her. But as their eyes met, everything around her seemed to blur. Her heart raced even faster. She found herself staring into the eyes of a man, tall and extremely good looking. His gaze held her in place, sending shivers through her body. She was completely thrown off by how good looking he was. Noticing her stare, the man smiled softly. That was close, he said. Cecilia snapped back to reality, suddenly aware she had been staring for too long. She quickly tried to find her words, but her mind was still distracted. Um, Thanks for saving me from total embarrassment, she managed to say. I am Cecilia. A few steps away, Tiana stood, watching the scene unfold, grinning like a mad woman. She had never seen her sister this flustered. You are welcome, the man replied, with a deep, rich voice that only added to his charm. I am Femi. Are you sure you are okay? He asked. Cecilia nodded quickly. Yes, yes, I am fine. Thanks again. Without giving herself time to think, Cecilia turned and walked away, her sister closely following beside her, leaving Femi standing there amused. While they walked away, Tiana playfully teased Cecilia, accusing her of pretending to fall just to get caught by the handsome man they had seen earlier. They laughed together, but Cecilia's thoughts still lingered on the moment. It had been so long since she felt anything like that. When they got home, she couldn't shake the thought of Femi, his deep voice, the way he had caught her, and how it all seemed to happen so fast. She sighed, sitting on her bed. Cecilia, I think you need to get a boyfriend, she muttered to herself. You've been single for way too long. That's why you're having this wayward thoughts. Cecilia had a close friend named Titi, and they had been together since their school days. They met in class, and since then, their bond has been so strong that people in their department often called them sisters. As law graduates who had just been called to bar, they decided to apply for jobs anywhere they could. One day, holding their CVs and application letters, they walked into a big law firm, hoping to secure a job. Just as Cecilia was about to hand in their applications, she noticed someone familiar. It was Femi. She would definitely remember that face anywhere. Her heart skipped a beat as she felt a mix of nerves and excitement. She hadn't expected to see him again, especially not here. Femi, who was talking to someone at the far end of the room, glanced in her direction, and for a brief moment, their eyes met again. Recognition flashed across his face. and a slow, easy smile appeared on his lips. Cecilia's heart was now pounding in her chest. She tried to stay composed, but something about the way he looked at her made her feel both vulnerable and thrilled at the same time. Femi excused himself from the conversation and walked over to her. Cecilia, right? He asked, his deep voice sending a familiar shiver down her spine. Cecilia smiled nervously, trying to calm her racing thoughts. Yes, Femi, we met at the mall. I didn't expect to see you here again, she said. I didn't expect to see you either, Femi replied, his gaze warm but curious. I came here with my friend to apply for a job, Cecilia said. Femi nodded thoughtfully as his eyes quickly drifted to Titi and back to Cecilia again. I came here to see someone, he said. Cecilia tried to focus on the conversation, but each time he spoke, she found herself a little distracted by how good he looked up close. Suddenly, Femi shifted a little closer. You know, he said, his voice dropping slightly. I didn't get your number the last time, and I regretted it. Would it be okay if I asked for your number now? Cecilia's heart raced faster. Her mind went blank for a moment, realizing how much she had thought about him since their last encounter. She could feel a flutter of excitement in her chest, but she tried to keep her composure. Oh, sure, she replied. She quickly typed in a number in Femi's phone and handed the phone back to him, trying to act casual. Femi smiled, looking down at the screen for a moment before locking eyes with her again. Thanks. I'll definitely give you a call soon, he said. All the while, Titi watched them from a corner, wondering who the young man was. As soon as they were outside, Titi nudged her playfully. Who is that fine man? She asked, raising an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. Cecilia laughed, shaking her head. It's just someone I know. Titi gave her a knowing look, but didn't push further. As they walked away, Cecilia couldn't help but feel a strange excitement bubbling up inside her. That night, just as Cecilia was about to fall asleep, her phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number, and her heart raced as she picked up, hoping it was Femi. When she realized it was him, she tried to contain her excitement. Their conversation flowed naturally. They spoke about work, family, and light-hearted moments that made her laugh. They spent hours on the phone, and Cecilia felt a strong connection with Femi than she had expected. She opened up to him effortlessly, and it didn't feel like they were talking on the phone for the first time. To Cecilia, it seemed as though they had known each other for ages. Later that night, Femi's voice softened as he asked if she would like to have dinner with him over the weekend. Cecilia, thrilled, yet trying to stay composed, eagerly accepted. When Saturday arrived, Cecilia picked out her best outfit, spent extra time perfecting her hair, and even applied some makeup. The thought of seeing Femi again filled her with eager anticipation. Before leaving the house, she kept checking herself in the mirror, making sure everything was just right. At the restaurant, Femi was already waiting, looking even more handsome than she had remembered. The evening was magical. They laughed and shared stories. As the night came to an end, Femi told Cecilia he wanted her to be his girlfriend. Cecilia's heart leapt with joy, and without hesitation, she agreed. From that moment, their relationship blossomed. Femi showered Cecilia with love, surprising her with thoughtful gifts. His family owned a very big hotel and a textile company. As the only child, Femi had access to lots of money. He took Cecilia shopping most of the time and bought her new clothes, bags, and even expensive wigs that she never thought she could afford. She also received credit alerts frequently. He spared no expense in making Cecilia feel like the most cherished person in his life, and she felt incredibly lucky to have found him. 3 months into their relationship, Femi planned a romantic date and proposed to Cecilia in a beautiful garden, offering her a beautiful and shiny diamond ring and asking her to marry him. Overcome with happiness, Cecilia immediately said yes. When she shared the news with her sister and her friend Titi, they were both happy for her, jumping with excitement. However, there was a hint of concern in Tiana's eyes. She was worried about things moving too fast. as they had only met 3 months ago. But Cecilia reassured her, confident in her love for Femi. Seeing her sister's happiness, Tiana embraced Cecilia, ultimately feeling excited for her. One day, while cuddling with Femi on a couch in his living room, Cecilia expressed her frustration about not hearing back from the law firms she had applied to for jobs. But then, Femi's response took her by surprise. He didn't want her to work once they were married. He wanted her to focus on being his wife and taking care of their home. Cecilia, shocked and disappointed, tried to explain her desires to help her family and build her own career. But Femi insisted he could take care of everything. The conversation quickly turned into an argument, leading to their first quarrel. Cecilia felt unheard and frustrated, while Femi believed providing for her was an act of love. Later that evening, Femi apologized, but still maintained that she shouldn't work after marriage, promising to take care of her and her family's needs. Cecilia felt torn, loving Femi but wanting her independence. She knew they needed to find common ground if their future together was going to be happy. 2 months later, Femi and Cecilia tied the knot in an elegant and elaborate wedding. Everything was first class, from the luxurious venue to the beautiful decorations. It was a dream come true for Cecilia. Guests enjoyed varieties of delicious dishes, making the celebration a true feast. The event radiated grace and sophistication, making her feel like a queen. Her friends couldn't help but envy her, marveling at how perfect everything seemed. Cecilia was filled with happiness on her wedding day. Little did she know that this moment of bliss was just the calm before the storm. After the wedding, life seemed blissful for Cecilia. She and her husband traveled to Maldives for their honeymoon, sharing countless moments together and enjoying their new journey as a married couple. Cecilia was experiencing the best moments of her life. A few months later, Cecilia found out she was pregnant. The news brought even more joy to their home. Everything seemed to be falling perfectly into place. She had a loving husband, a baby on the way, and a comfortable life ahead. Not long after, things began to shift. Femi started coming home late at night, always using work as an excuse. At first, Cecilia didn't think too much of it. She understood the pressures of running a company, especially with Femi's growing responsibilities. But soon, it went from him arriving late at night to not coming home at all, spending one night away, then two. Sometimes he would be gone for 3 whole days. Each time, he reassured Cecilia that it was due to his busy schedule at work. Though worried, Cecilia believed him. After all, Femi had always taken care of her, and she trusted him. But deep down, something didn't feel right. The longer his absence became, the more unsettled she felt. One evening, Femi returned after being gone for 2 days. As he hugged Cecilia, she noticed a different scent on him, one she wasn't familiar with. Immediately, Cecilia's heart skipped a beat. Her mind raced with thoughts she didn't want to entertain, but she couldn't ignore the possibility that maybe, just maybe, Femi was seeing someone else. Cecilia didn't say anything right away. Instead, she quietly observed, silently watching and waiting for the right moment. That night, as Femi went into the bathroom to take a shower, she saw a chance. Quietly, she reached for his phone, her heart pounding in her chest. She didn't want to believe he was hiding something from her, but she needed to know the truth. Just as she unlocked the phone, Femi came out of the bathroom. He saw Cecilia holding his phone and immediately rushed towards her, his face darkening with anger. "What are you doing with my phone?" he demanded. Cecilia was unable to form the perfect sentence to say. Femi grabbed the phone from her hand. A struggle broke out as they tugged the phone back and forth. In the heat of the moment, Femi pushed Cecilia and she lost her balance. Her belly hit the sharp edge of the bed frame before her body collapsed onto the floor. A cry of pain escaped her lips as she clutched her stomach. In an instant, she began to bleed before she passed out. Femi stood frozen for a moment, horror and confusion clearly on his face. Then, he quickly lifted Cecilia into his arms and rushed her to the hospital. After a careful examination and treatment, the doctor delivered the devastating news. Cecilia had suffered a miscarriage and her womb had been ruptured, meaning she would not be able to conceive again. The words hit Femi like a brick, unable to comprehend the gravity of what had happened. Cecilia would never carry their child. The dream they had shared of building a family together was now shattered. Upon hearing the news, Cecilia's body became weak and her heart heavy with grief. She couldn't help but wonder if their marriage would ever be the same again. Femi, guilt-ridden and devastated, tried to apologize. He showered Cecilia with gifts, including a new car, as a way of making up for the pain he had caused. He promised he would change, and for a while, it seemed like things were getting better. Cecilia, still hurting but wanting to hold on to her marriage, accepted his gestures. Life slowly returned to normal. Femi stopped spending nights away, and their relationship appeared to settle into a more peaceful routine. But just a few months later, an unforgettable event happened again. One afternoon, Cecilia received a call from her sister Tiana. Her voice was filled with worry. Their father, Mr. James, had collapsed at work and was admitted to the hospital. Cecilia rushed to her father's side, staying with him for days as he recovered. Mr. James, ever the strong-willed man, eventually convinced her to go home, assuring her that he was feeling better and she didn't need to worry. Cecilia reluctantly left the hospital and decided to return home unannounced, hoping to surprise Femi with her early return. But as soon as she got home, she immediately sensed something was wrong. She walked into their bedroom and was greeted by a sight that made her heart stop. There, lying in her matrimonial bed and cuddled up with her husband, was Titi, her friend, sleeping soundly. She had a completely relaxed expression. Shock washed over Cecilia as she stood frozen in the doorway. In that moment, she screamed, waking both Titi and Femi. Titi's face shifted to panic at the sight of Cecilia, and without saying a word, she ran out of the house. Tears filled Cecilia's eyes, her heart pounding as she tried to process what she had just seen. But what shattered her even more was Femi's reaction. Instead of comforting Cecilia or offering any explanation, Femi ran after Titi. He didn't even look back at Cecilia. Cecilia's knees buckled as she collapsed onto the floor. She cried until she could cry no more, her spirit broken. The man she had married, the man she thought loved her, had brought her best friend into their home while she was away, caring for her father. Days later, Femi didn't return. Cecilia called him multiple times, hoping for an explanation, but he never picked. She sat in their empty house, her mind filled with thoughts of betrayal, loss, and regret. She cried all day, wondering how Femi could do this to her. How had everything gone so wrong? How had Femi, the man who once made her feel like the happiest woman in the world, became this cold, heartless stranger who now seemed to be more comfortable in the arms of her best friend? Femi's absence had become Cecilia's new reality. Weeks went by and his visits home were rare. Despite this, Cecilia couldn't bring herself to consider ending the marriage. The fear of being labeled a divorced woman disturbed her seriously. What would people think? She couldn't bear the thought of her friends and the world mocking her after the grand wedding they had attended. Financially, she relied on Femi. He was her main source of support and income. And with no job at the moment, the idea of being unable to afford the things she wanted terrified her. Femi was still the center of her world, and no matter how distant he had become, she was ready to forgive him once more. Confiding in anyone felt impossible. Her family held Femi in high esteem, and she didn't want to change their view of him. Unsure of what to do, Cecilia called her mother-in-law, tearfully sharing the struggles she had been facing at her home. Her mother-in-law, however, advised her to remain prayerful, explaining that sometimes women don't fully understand the ways of men, but assured her that things would return to normal soon, as long as she continued fasting and praying. A few days later, Cecilia was sitting in the living room, When she heard the front door open, her heart raced as she saw Femi. But he wasn't alone. Titi stood beside him, and Cecilia's heart sank. Femi walked in with a cool, emotionless expression. Cecilia, I need to talk to you, he said casually. Cecilia stood up, her heart pounding. Femi, why is she here with you again? She asked, dreading the answer. Femi then took a deep breath before saying, Titi here is pregnant with my child, and I don't think we can hide it anymore.